Oh, oh. Hi, viewers around the world. I'm so excited to be with you today and to welcome you to my climate story with Tosin. I am super excited to be with you also, and I'm sure my guest also is. And I'm excited because of all the amazing conversation that we're going to be having today. But before I introduce my guest, please subscribe to this channel, like this video, share with your friends. And if you have any question or comment for our guest, please remember to put it in the chat. And today, it's important. And we have a great person, guest also, who is sharing with us, a passionate climate activist. And we are focused today, it's about a topic that is very serious, but has been largely left out of the climate change conversation. And that's the issue of eco anxiety, the fear that people have, and the traumas that is often associated with losses, which is created by climate change impacts, and how that affects our mental health. So our guest today will be sharing with us tips on how we can feel better, how we can respond to the climate crisis and the losses and the traumas that's associated with it from the place of strength, from the place of power, how we can move that into action, into activism. And so our guest today is Aditya Sabu Sahadevan, who is a young climate activist, has also worked with Fridays for Future, and is from India. Welcome. Thank you for joining us, Aditya.
Thank you so much for the introduction. It feels so honor to be a part of this crime story.
Great. To get us started, by the way, can you give us a context of, in your own situation, um, how does climate change affect you and the people in your community?
Yeah. So before going on to that, let me give a brief introduction about climate change. And also, even before going on to that, let me clear a misconception about climate change. That we while having conversation about climate change, because there's a big difference between climate and weather. Actually, weather is a short-term atmospheric temperature for geographical location, and it changes in hours and seconds and minutes. But climate is a long-term atmospheric temperature of geographical location, and or it is an average weather of of a geographical location, and it changes in decades and years. So, like I've seen that many people make this mistake of having conversation of by mistaking climate for weather and weather for climate. So, the impacts of climate change are getting serious day by day. So, there's wildfires in Serbia, wildfires in Greece, wildfires in California. This is climate change. The impacts are getting so grievous day by day, and even 0.1 degree Celsius can have serious impact, and we are experiencing it. We are already experiencing it, but there is lack of inaction. And it is totally our responsibility to contain this global atmospheric temperature below the 1.5 degrees Celsius as per the Paris Treaty. And also, as you have seen in the IPCC report, it has stated that the global atmospheric temperature is expected to rise beyond 2 degrees Celsius. So we have to work collectively to combat climate change. And also, talking about climate change, there are few factors which neutralizes the carbon emissions, and carbon emissions is what intensifies the impacts of climate change. So, and these carbon neutralizers, they absorb this excess carbon dioxide in the atmosphere by maintaining ecological balance, and they are trees, oceans, and blue whales. Blue whales absorb about 30 tons of carbon dioxide in its whole lifetime of 30 to 90 years. And also, they they make sure that the ocean is not overpopulated, and also they make sure that the resources aren't exploited either by consuming different species of fish. But right now they are being exploited, they are being slaughtered in the name of tradition and meat, and we want stronger legislation for that. Talking about oceans, and oceans absorb about 26% of the carbon emissions, and they also gives us oxygen. But right now, we have seen different hurdles being faced with the ocean in the sequestration process of the carbon emissions, like the skyrocketing carbon emissions, and let it be the skyrocketing carbon emissions, or the increase in plastic pollution, the ocean surface, or the oil spills, like we have seen in the news. So these are acting as hurdles. Actually, when this happens, these oceans have the capacity to absorb this carbon emissions. But right now, because of this excess carbon emissions, it makes a job tougher. They'll absorb it, but actually it intensifies, or it increases the temperature of the ocean. That has serious implications, like and yeah, implications like ocean sea level rise, ocean acidification, and ocean acidification will result in the coral reef bleaching. And coral reef bleaching result in the marine species. A quarter of the marine species actually depend on this coral reefs for habitat. They habit there, and it is a habitat, so they will lose the habitat and they will be exposed to these natural predators. Also, talking about that, we have to consider about poverty as well, because if that happens, because 1.5 billion source of it is a source of for source of protein and source of livelihood for 1.5 billion people, and they will be at jeopardy as well. Talking about the forest, and they play a very important role in neutralizing the carbon emissions. A tree absorbs about 30 tons of 30 to 40 tons of carbon dioxide, and also they not only absorb this carbon dioxide, they also absorb these toxic and viruses. According to scientists, animals emit these viruses and toxic from their bodies, and as you have seen, the one we are facing right now, the COVID-19, is a zoonotic virus. It is spread from animals to humans because of the increased interaction, because of the commercial or the medical purposes needs, and also for the an increase in consumption of meat, and all these factors. So actually, yeah, it is of increased interaction which results in all these troubles, and so and then also added on that, we are losing thousands of huge acres of huge rates of forest in seconds. So that is one issue, and so these animals emit these carbon emissions along with the toxic and viruses. But earlier we had two states of forest, but right now we are losing it. So and also talking about that, let me give a real life example. It happened like in Indonesia, and they lead the race in the palm oil plantation, palm oil industry, and they control about 50%, more than 50% of the palm oil trade, and they actually cut all the indigenous forests to make way for this land or palm oil plantations, and that results in this habitat losing of these Sumatran tigers, and Sumatran tigers is almost on the verge of extinction. So and so yeah, uh, so the things like that happen, and also when they're cutting this forest, they not only cut this, they use a slash and burn technique. Actually, slash and burn, while using this slash and burn technique, that means the burning it. So like we already discussed, the carbon emission which is already stored in the trees are ejected when they are burned, so that creates more trouble. So yeah, so we have to protect this carbon natural neutralizers at any cost.
Mm.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes. Okay. Um,
Hello. Am I audible?
oh, okay. Hi. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you
Yeah.
perfectly.
So I was just trying to respond to what you said in your submission about the importance of restoring the carbons, and also the losses that comes with it, and biodiversity loss. You know, also you mentioned livelihoods also are impacted. No,
Yeah.
what are some of the human elements? You mentioned what we've done, different agricultural practices that has also created to the stock of carbons in the atmosphere. Um, you made mention of how that also affected wildlife, how it affects the sea creatures. But what are some of the impacts on humans, on people, on communities?
Yeah, it does have communities, and the climate, the impacts of climate change are mostly affected on the underprivileged sections, and yeah, so that will even make the a situation even harder, because actually they are trying to find to like, how do I say, like, they're trying to leave, but when instances like, or situation like climate change faces, they'll be thrown down to the lanes. So and also yeah, so also it does have impacts on the mental health as well.
Mm.
It seriously, that's an impact on the mental health, and also some might be losing the jobs, and we have seen many people are losing the jobs. And also talking about an instance like even the sports industry, like I imagine a situation where even a country which is hosting an international tournament, if it yeah, and the area is flooded with water, and because of the impacts of climate change, they even might have been will postpone it, right? So that's it. So take the case of sports or any industry, the impacts of climate change are there. So people will have these impacts in the terms of economical sense, or in the terms of health, in terms of mental thing, and in every sphere. So
And,
it really, yeah.
yeah, these losses has created a lot of caused a lot of mental issues for people, mental illness, anxiety, depression. Um, I had a conversation with a young man some time ago who was sharing with me, and I think it was the same narrative that was expressed at the one of the marches that was organized by Fridays for the Future. And the question is this: um, politicians tell kids don't get involved in the politics of climate change. Just stay in classrooms and study. And one of the key respond to say, what's the point of a certificate if there's no future? And so this is, creating a lot of concern about the future, the traumas that comes from imagining that there may not be a world for you in the future. How do people, especially young people, how are they supposed to respond to this kind of situation of fear about the future, the traumas that they feel, or the depression that comes with the impact that climate change poses to their future?
So you asked me how do I deal with it? Deal
Yeah, how
the
should young
eco.
people deal with it, the traumas of the losses of climate change?
Yeah, so yeah, so I convert my eco anxiety into eco activism through my writing, and I only recently switched to my public speaking, and and also talking about like the best remedy for eco anxiety is actually action and education. So only recently I switched to this. Talking about my personal experiences, only recently switched to public speaking, because I had this feeling that I have to. I don't want to limit myself to just writing alone. I started my climate activism through writing, and I had expanded it through public speaking as well. And right now I've been called for TEDx speech as well, because it also gave me an opportunity to amplify my message on a greater and farther stage. So yeah, so the thing is that rather than just waiting for someone else to show up, we have to act. So, and also I've been asked by many to getting consulted by a doctor for eco anxiety, and also been asked by many to take care of my health. But actually, I love the way I deal eco anxiety. Action is the best remedy. Education is the best remedy, and I know the pill. I already know the pill, and I love getting. I don't want to get. I don't want to be consulted by a doctor. Instead, I am consulting others about climate change, and that's the best relief, and that protects my health and protects the planet, and and it enables me to give awareness to people as well. So and my awareness also includes a feeling of that injecting that feeling of guilt in people. Or actually, that guilt or that sorrow or that emotions actually drives people to do things. So along with the facts, not just totally emotion, but a blend of emotions and facts. So that is one thing that people can relate to, and people can feel closer. So and also actually these normalizing burnouts and or romanticizing burnouts actually, which makes me normal. So I can't just stop doing anything. And a day without reading or writing anything or doing something related to climate justice really makes me insane. And because it is a purpose of my life, it is. Otherwise, I would really feel futile. And I wish everyone feel like this. That and also this eco anxiety also makes me accountable and true to the cause. It also gives me. It also develops a feeling of guilt. Actually, I really I appreciate the feeling of guilt in our mind, because actually it is that guilt feeling which makes us to do things, right? Because after consumption, we came to know that, oh, this product has service has this amount of carbon dioxide. You shouldn't be using it, or you should reduce its usage. So that feeling is where the success story begins. That story is where the change begins. So yeah, so we need to have that mental preparedness to fight this thing.
Thank you. You said action is a strategy, education is a strategy, and I think that's the place that raising awareness advocacy comes in. But how can we strengthen advocacy? How can we get more people talking about this, especially the youth? How can we get more youth engagement in this conversation?
Yeah. Yeah, I really am advocating for that, and yeah. So, and especially taking the case of India, and we don't have this climate education or education curriculum, and I hope, and I think that I'm sorry, I think that many of the countries doesn't even have the climate education in the educational system, and that is where the trouble begins. Because people do not have proper knowledge about climate change, and some people think that the awareness stage is over, the awareness stage isn't over yet, and that there is more fast to be reviewed. So, yeah. Um, Hello?
Yes, I can hear you. Yeah, go
Yeah,
on.
so yeah. So the climate education is the first thing that we need to implement. So before that, we need to instill that. So according to me, like I'm not talking about big or humongous plans. Like whenever we are asked about suggesting plans about the sustainability, we just boast. But what I'm suggesting is not big plans, not just a super innovative plan. But I'm talking about that that's a hack. That's a psychological hack. Like according to me, that mental element should be there.
Mm,
That mental prepared. We need to instill mental preparedness and that collective approach in people. Then only people will face and fight the cause rather than considering it as their fate. So we need to bring people closer. Otherwise, and instill that feeling. Otherwise, the mechanism. But if we have the mechanism and material and people are not utilizing it, it will be ineffective. It will be totally futile, right? I've seen many mechanisms in our country being underutilized. People are not utilizing it. It's just there for the sake of being there. That's it. So I don't want to see like that. And yeah, so talking about that, and also another hack can help us to inject that feeling of fighting for climate change in youngsters, or yeah, youngsters is that like I talked about sports a few minutes ago.
mm,
I've seen many sports clubs are totally involved in climate activism. There's a football club in Germany, Bundesliga, and it's named Wolfsburg. It's a world's first carbon neutral club. They have their own forest. They even deliver climate education. So they're doing more things than an environmental organization. And also, the sports have that psychological thing, because people used to follow these sports organizations or these influences rather than rather than what the scientists have to say. People have that is something, and I actually see it as a flow, and also it also helps us to amplify the message, because people used to listen to the favorite football club or favorite football players. And I've seen, even taking about my own case, I ditched the use of cock or soft drinks after after I came to know that Cristiano Ronaldo, the famous football player, who dished soft drinks. So the sports and like-minded organizations or like-minded entertainment fields have its own impacts there. So we need that essence of climate activism in every field. So that is the thing I'm suggesting, and we need to have that conversation. We need to increase the scale of conversation in like in in every sphere. And also I really appreciate climate too for inspiring others, and also to increasing the conversations by inviting others, and also giving the viewers an insight about climate change, and creating more conversations. And we need more conversations about climate change. Yeah.
Thank you very much. But how do we address people who still live in denial to this? Some people have seen the signs, but for some reason, do not, or they chose not to believe in the science of climate change. And I am originated from Africa, and I live the realities in Africa. But now I'm in the United States, and sometimes you have to keep looking for to see where do the impact of climate change, how does it show up on daily, day-to-day living experience for people. So for such people, it is hard for them to believe, oh, climate change is happening, and it's having untold sufferings on communities around the world. And for such people, you coming from the global south, I'm sure you see some of these realities every day. What message do you have for people who still doubt the existence or the realities of climate change?
Sorry, can you repeat?
Yes, the question is, what message do you have for people who deny that climate change happens?
Okay, yeah, gotcha. Thank you. So, to all those climate deniers, and actually, I've seen many people, and this is very saddening situation, because like I've already mentioned, like sorrows and these emotions, this drives us to do more to get climate justice. And I've seen many people being driven by that force. So, talking about that, if real life climate change instances or disasters happen to them personally, then or if they lose their loved ones, or the person they love, then they will be having that emotional force inside them. Although they won't be caring about too much about climate change, but they know that, they have the feeling that it is a natural disaster. It is caused by it's caused by nature, and we can in no way stop unless we act to stop it by ethical activities. So it is actually like I've seen in people that people used to start activism or start doing something good only when something bad happens to them. And also I've seen and after a while, after that they are back into the rails, and from the derailed situation to the rail situation, they might be forgetting about it, because right now they are on the right track and they are not affected. So that's a situation of the people, because I've seen in Kerala, in the place I live, and we have witnessed two floods in 2018 and 2019. So the torrential rain and the floods were so devastating. And and people still were and I've seen many people were initially very interested in increasing the impact, in increasing education about climate change, but have seen the flow, and they got derailed after a while. So yeah, that's the thing. People used to derail after some time. That consistency is missing, and but that doesn't mean that all are like that. But there are some people. But yeah, so I think people need to have that guilt feeling. People need that we want the all influences. We want to create normal conversations about climate change. We want to talk not just in a scientific way, but we want to talk climate change in a more sensitive or emotional way. Then only people can connect, right? Their emotions, because talking about facts, some people might not understand, some people might not accept. But when these things are happening to them, or when we are uh, uh, conveying them to in a way that what if it ever affects them, the cost of it, and also talking about the people in other countries of facing this. Yeah, I think that creates an insight.
Thank you. Talking about it, and also not just the science of it, but also talking about the stories of how other people around the planet are experiencing it is another good strategy to get people who are in doubt to see, to get a better understanding of what how that is affecting people in different contexts. And I want to find out from your experience, for people who are in those who live in those realities, who have lost their homes to sea level rise or sea surges, um, who have been displaced because of conflict over, climate-driven conflicts, and for people whose land has become infertile, and because of extreme weather conditions and all that, and floods, who have lost their livelihood. How do they begin to find hope for the future? How do they begin to believe there's still a better world? And how do they begin to create that better world? How can they create that better world?
Yeah. So talking about it, I've already mentioned that. Yeah. So the initial thing that we needed was mental preparedness, and after we did it, so talking about individual action, we often underrate our actions, right? We often individuals often feel powerless. We often consider our activities as ineffective. Actually, individuals are so powerful because let me give a brief example. Because had we thought that our oceans wouldn't have been filled up with 8 million tons of plastic products, because every time someone draws a plastic bottle, they feel it's just one. And this was the exact same thought that 7 billion population had when they threw a plastic bottle. So what if this what if we could reverse this situation? What if we could reverse this mindset that people have that collectivity in terms of negative things, but not in terms of positive things? What if we could reverse this mindset? Then that's a success. So individual actions have really does have an impact, positive and negative impacts, but let's make sure that's a positive impact. So that's the thing. So we need to make sure that we need to instill that feeling of mental preparedness and the feeling that yeah, so, the feeling that like we can that individual is not just powerless, that individual is so powerful, and he can do so many things. If he can do so many negative things, he can also do positive things. So we need to instill that mindset, because and also I've seen many people just blaming these corporates and government for just for polluting and increasing the production, but actually we have to introspect that actually it is our demands, it is our choices which actually serves the production. So yeah, so it can be very well understood when we consider our negative impact. So we actually can do good things for the environment when we have that collective approach. So yeah.
Thank you. In conclusion, what do you think is one action that is very important that young people should be involved in right now to get government, to get corporations, to get business to respond to mitigating causes of climate change, and to reduce the carbon emissions in the atmosphere? What is one thing that young people should be involved in?
Yeah, so taking about my own case, actually I really wanted yeah. So my mind is actually programmed in a way that I think about the carbon footprint of whenever I see or see some products or services, my mind is automatically programmed that I just want to research about the carbon footprint of this or that thing. So yeah, so talking about that, actually we need to have this like. But I'm sorry, can you repeat the last line? You missed it. Hello?
Hello? Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, so yeah, you are talking about action, right?
Yes,
What
yes,
the
yes. So
citizens
what's one action that young people should be involved in their
yeah, so
communities to get
yeah,
government to act on climate change, to get businesses to reduce the pollution? You know,
yeah. Yeah, totally understand. Yeah, so yeah, talking about my own case, actually, because of eco anxiety, I had to change my personal, change my career goal. I had really wanted to become a civil servant in India. but I really wanted to. I really don't want to serve a long for long years because of the political pressure the position holds, and I chose it in the interest of the in my personal interest, and I was mentally and mentally prepared as well. But right now, I really want to become an environmental lawyer, and I took up law. And I'm a fourth year law student, and I'm believing that I can create changes through legislation and the law because it really can have serious impact. So, like the way I did, like we need to program the things we do. I'm not suggesting like in our session. I'm not suggesting what big plan, but uh, we actually have different solutions that we have already laid out plans. But the thing missing is that mental activity, that mental interest to do things. So yeah, so that's the thing. So uh, whatever whatever situation we faces, whatever situations or the things we are going to face, we have to think from that climate justice perspective. And also, to take the case of this, let it be the what is it, the career goal, or and also these youngsters actually are the policymakers and individuals of tomorrow. So if the youth are not taking any action, like as we've seen the IPCC report, we have seen that already at this point of time, the earth is expected to increase to 1.5. It is expected to increase beyond 1 to 2 degrees Celsius. The earth is getting warmer. So right now we have to act. So the thing is that we have to make short resolutions. And for example, I give an example right now. An email emits about 10 grams of carbon dioxide, and every year, 2 trillion spam mails are sent. Spam mails are just junk, right? They are totally useless. We might be subscribing it for the sake of subscribing, and we lost interest after the initial dose. So actually, so every year, 2 trillion spam mails are sent, and from that, 20 million tons of carbon is emitted. So we are not even aware of it, and I guess that many people are unaware of the fact that even spam is emitting carbon emissions. So, so my ideology is that we need more facts. We need more people who talks about climate change. We need more conversations because, and also that is how I also got involved into this. And we need um, uh, like people like you and people like this organization to inspire people, because inspiration is what we know. It's a cliche term, but inspiration is what makes us drive. So it makes us think from different perspectives of how can we make this building sustainable, how can we take the case of the doing hosting sports events, taking place of a wedding, hosting a wedding. So we will be able to think from the sustainable side then. So that's the thing.
Thank you very much. Thank you for joining us today. And so, viewers, I guess as shared with us, it's so many things about the fact that there's no point in denying the realities of climate change, and as far as climate change is concerned, we all have a role to play because we are all part of everything we do impacts on the climate. Everything we do, we have we has an impact on the climate. So it's important that we get involved in all the measures that is required to stem climate change. And while climate change may look like the concern may seem like it's almost impossible in what we consider the magnitude, there's actually things we can do, little things we can do to protect our planet and also to protect our mental health from the anxieties, from the depressions that the experiences of losses that come with extreme weather conditions and all that. So thank you. We're so glad to have you here with us. We're so glad that you chose to share your deep wisdom with us. Thank
Also,
you so much.
I have another point to add on. I'm sorry. Yeah. So even this session might be emitting some 10 to 20 kilogram of carbon emission, because we are all accessing this session through our electronic devices, right? It is all powered by non-renewable resources. So everything has an energy. So what I'm trying to convey is that actually this session is carbon friendly when talking in terms of we are hosting this virtually, but in the case of physical events, it has a bigger carbon footprint. It is a better alternative. But what I'm trying to convey is that even for good things, even with the intention of this session is to create awareness. It is all ethical purposes. But even for this session, we are emitting carbon emissions. So we have come to that point. So we need to understand that even for the good things we are emitting a lot of carbon dioxide. So the thing is, so my special message is that everything has a hidden cost, and it is a human rights when we consider in terms of the population. Like we have talked about, the email carbon footprint of a person might be some 5 grams per month, but we have to always paint a bigger picture by calculating the macro emissions, not the micro emissions. Micro emissions always gives us a small picture, or the individual emissions does not give a clear picture. So we have to, whenever we are doing something, we have to think about what will be the carbon footprint, what will be what cost will flood the environment when 7 billion population are using it at the same time. Also, another thing I have to add on is that even a text message emits about 0.07 grams of carbon dioxide. So totally staggering. It's not a big deal. Actually, it is not a big deal, and also even another thing is that being in like I've seen many people just being a part of different WhatsApp groups. Actually, they may not be having the interest to be in the WhatsApp group. They just be just in the group just because of the friends are there. Yeah, just don't mind about that. So the tactical thing is that, so even if you are and active in the group or not, even if you are operating the group or not, someone is sending a message and we are receiving it. So that's a carbon footprint. So we have to consider that 0.7 grams of carbon dioxide into 7 billion population's emission. So that's a humongous amount. So that gives a bigger picture about our footprint. So we need to, and also according to my theory, we need to make the individuals liable. Then only we have that guilt feeling helps us to reduce things or stop things. That only drives us. So actually, like Eco anxiety introduced me trying fuel. It made me stop several things in the previous years. So it is actually that feeling helps us to reduce things. And so yes, so we need to have um, that small pieces of information about carbon footprint or the cost we are having on the environment. Thank you.
Mhm. Thank you very much. With that global perspective and data, we'll come to the end of today's show. This is sharing climate stories with Tosin. It runs every Friday and at 10 o'clock Eastern time. That's New York time. We have global, time, breakdowns that we have in our advert each month that tells you what time it runs in your own local time zone. So thank you for watching us today. Please remember to subscribe to this channel, like the videos, and share with your friends. The conversations and the people we bring on this show to help us get better understanding of what climate change means, how it's affecting people in different contexts. They share their experiences, their stories, and more importantly, they share the hope and the solutions. And those are some of the things we need to build a world we can live on, a world that is sustainable, a planet that continue to provide for our need and also provide for the needs of people in the future. So until I come away again next week, Friday, at another time with sharing climate stories with Tosin, please go get involved with your community, reduce the carbon emissions, and take care of the earth. Once again, thank you, Aditya Sabu Sahadevan, for sharing your wisdom with us.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tosin,
So,
for inviting me
yeah.
to and also helping me amplify messages on climate change.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Take care.